I'm the one you've been missing and wishing for. Listen, all commands will be coming from the goddamn tower. Hit me, man. I'm the maestro. I'm that nigga with the stick in his bitch. Arranger, director, conductor, any other name you can think of. Hit me. I got drums and shit. Toms and shit. I got congos and bongos, guitar keepers and some of the horns up in this bitch. That boy, wow! Like it come from the wild. Kind of shit that you ain't heard on the box in the wild. Even the white people sitting up in this motherfucker, you ain't gonna do nothing but say, wow! Let me get my hands on those acapella, then nigga sicker and slicker than Earl on the Pelican. We on the one. Me and the band gelling like Abbott and Costello. We go together like Stanky and Smelly, Tongue and Belly, peanut butter jelly. That's a fool that y'all can't hear out too much.
Michael Lawrence Tyler, aka Mystikal, born September 22nd, 1970. Today's feature was a huge part of the emergence and dominance of No Limit Records from the mid to late 90s. No Limit at one point were just as, if not bigger than any rap label, and as far as down south, they held the game with Cash Money Records coming along soon after and battling them for it. In the late 90s, very early 2000s, everything they touched went gold or platinum, and one of their biggest, most distinct artists was Mystikal. After releasing his first album in 1995 that went gold, he came back in 97, 98, and 2000 with 3 straight platinum albums, the latter going double platinum and #1 on the US charts on Jive Records. As far as being a rap artist goes, that's a feat not many rappers can claim to have accomplished. His Let's Get Ready album featured his biggest song ever, Shake It Fast, that peaked at 13 on the Billboard 100 and has been named among the top hip-hop songs of all time. A song Mystikal says wasn't his favorite until it proved him wrong with its success. He followed that up with Danger featuring Nivea, that was a hit in the female demographic and one of the biggest ringtones of 2000. Even today, that song would be a hit that gave a perfect description of Mystikal's unique rap style. He was a bit offbeat at times, changed his pace unsuspectingly, and used animated cadences that all flowed perfectly on that song and most his hit songs for that matter. It's what made him one of the standout artists of his generation. You knew you were getting hardcore gangsta rap from No Limit's roster, but then you had Mystikal, who I'd compare to Old Dirty Bastard in their ability to still stand out among greatness all around them because of the personality they brought to a track or featured verse. He followed that up a year later with Tarantula that shared success going gold, but critics feeling it was a step back from his previous album because it lacked originality by sounding like an imitation of the success he had prior. It was his final studio album and the last time we'd really see or hear from Mystikal, whose life completely took a turn for the worse soon after. He was up one day and one of the biggest rappers in the world on one of hip-hop's biggest labels ever to a slew of abuse, battery, and extortion charges that landed him in prison for 6 years from 2004 to 2010. As a rapper, it meant the end of his career, and as an individual, it set off a string of arrests that kept him in and out of jail for reasons surrounding the same he spent the better part of the 2000s in prison for. Once he's even had to register for life as a sex offender. He's currently locked up and awaiting trial where he could possibly go away for life. In that case, this would have to be one of the biggest fall-offs in rap history. What happened? Let's talk about it. Salute to OG fams from the 870 for this request. It's your boy JC StuntedGrowthMusic. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Mystikal is a rap artist from New Orleans, Louisiana that was discovered opening up for Run DMC and Dougie Fresh in the early 90s by a producer for an independent record company called Big Boy Records. He was signed and released his debut independent album in 1994. The album was an independent success and placed him in the eyes of Jive Records, whom he'd signed to and released his debut studio album with in 95 that went gold and peaked top 13 on the hip-hop charts. Through his own beefs with No Limit's rival Cash Money Records, along with his talent, No Limit signed him in '96 and released his '97 album Unpredictable that landed top 3 on Billboard's Top 100 and his first platinum album. Success followed for the next 4 years for the unpredictable and frenetic MC. Then, suddenly, things came crashing down and his personal legacy became forever scarred. Stunt number 1, Battery and Extortion Case. Right in the midst of a successful career, Mystikal was arrested in 2002 and pled guilty in 2003 to sexual battery and extortion that led to his sentencing a year later, literally changing life as he knew it. He accused his stylist of stealing $80,000 from him by way of cashing unauthorized checks from his account. Along with his 2 bodyguards, they then told the woman in order for this to go away, she would have to perform oral relations with the 3 of them, or this would be taken to the police and her life and career would be ruined. Make matters stupidly worse, they videotaped the whole thing, which later became his undoing. While fighting the case, Mystikal's lawyers were able to negotiate the aggravated assault charges down to sexual battery and extortion in exchange for his plea of guilty, as long as the tape of the event remained sealed and wouldn't be presented by the prosecutor. The victim also agreed to the lesser charge to save dignity, not wanting the tape to be a part of public record if presented at trial. That's until in 2004, the judge on the case during Mystikal's sentencing asked to view the tape and returned with a ruling that shocked everyone and ended the rapper's successful career run. He said that because of the vulgarity of the tape and his feeling that Mystikal thought he was above the law, he was revoking the deal and remanding Mystikal to begin immediately serving a 6-year sentence. 2 years later in 2006, he was denied parole and would serve out his full term from 2004 to 2010. He missed 6 years of his life, but a lifetime in hip-hop, as when he got out, rap was completely different and ready to go in an entirely different direction. Not to mention the social movements that emerged that would crush a person of Mystikal's sexual battery background. He had to register as a sex offender upon his release, further limiting his life and his ability to sell himself as an artist. Stunt number 2, more related charges. As if things couldn't get worse for a rapper hanging by a thread for life after the conviction and sentencing that took away the prime of his career. Just 2 years after being released from prison, he was arrested again for domestic abuse that triggered the violation of his probation term for his arrest. The judge ordered him remanded to jail for 90 days and he was released later that year in 2012. Mystikal's career was pretty much over at that point due to the nature of his charges and accusations. But still on the table was honorary acknowledgement later down as time patched those wounds, enough for some to forget or forgive. But because he would literally go on to be involved in strings of domestic abuse, assault and battery, and surprising rape charges, there was simply no coming back for Mystikal as an artist. In 2017, he'd be accused of rape again, turning himself in after a warrant was issued for his arrest. After sitting for 2 years without bond, those charges were later dismissed because of lack of evidence. But it didn't stop there. In 2022, he was arrested again for criminal damage to property, false imprisonment, domestic abuse, battery and strangulation, simple robbery, and first-degree rape in the exact words of the arrest statements. Because of his prior convictions and being a registered sex offender, Mystikal faces a life in prison sentence, remaining there until his trial, unable to receive a bond. He's accused of assaulting a different woman he accuses of stealing money from him once again. She helped him look for the money and found drugs in the home, to which she'd later admit to police. She says he sprinkled her with rubbing alcohol and prayed with her before forcing her onto the bed, then brutally assaulting her. Because of the drugs found, added an additional 5-year charge, which no matter what happens, he'll most likely do more jail time. All in all, there is no stunt number 3 for Mystikal. I'm not sure if he was traumatized from finding his sister murdered in her bed on his 24th birthday that set him down a path of in turn abusing his power with females, or money and success that, like the judge said, made him feel above the law. But whatever it is, Mystikal did and is accused of doing some very sick things. He shouldn't even be honored by a featured story, especially none one praising his accomplishments as an artist. But if fair is separated from feelings, Mystikal did have a successful rap career that unfortunately, under the influence of money and drugs, wasn't nurtured into the legendary ending it could have had. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.